Hello, Sword Family. Welcome to the Teahouse. Now, before we get started today, Foxy and I went to our local Renaissance fair, and I thought I would show off a little. So, I'm wearing my Chinese dagua, which just basically translates to large robe. And it was nice. I mean, it was overcast, it was cloudy, it was rainy, and there towards the end it got a little chilly, but overall I had a pretty good time. We even got a few compliments on our costumes, and there were a lot more people dressed up this year than last year, and a lot more than the first year. And of course, because it's me, walked around for at least a couple of hours, probably, carrying my tangjian. I made sure not to draw it except for once, when a little boy asked to see my katana, so I had to go into minor teacher mode and tell him it's not a katana, it's Chinese jian, it's from the Tang Dynasty. But it was good. No new teas today. We're just drinking one of the old ones, because I've spent the last couple of weeks getting ready for the Renaissance fair. But as today is World Tàijí and Qìgōng Day, I did do a little bit of Tai Chi this morning right at 10 a.m., which is, what you're supposed to do. So we're going to discuss Tai Chi and Qigong. But first, we'll go through our comments here before we get started. And obviously the first one is Foxy. Evening, everyone. And Kitty has joined us. Hi, all. And nephew Alec from Alec's Creations. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Yes, again, I'm horrible at that, so any help is appreciated. Foxy says, thanks, Alec. Thesis is dressing up for... I wasn't really dressing up for stream. I mean, when we got back from the fair, I took it off and then just put it back on before. So I guess technically I'm dressing up for stream. Well, this won't become a thing. Trust me. Here in a couple of months, it's going to be way too warm for me to be wearing this indoors for an hour. And Uncle Carl joining us. Good evening, everyone. Evening, Carl. Oh, what a treat. Yeah, well, that's debatable. Need to run down the hall and see if Donna is online. Yes, do that. See you in a minute. Get to see him in his Mandarin. Yeah, that's another term for this particular Mandarin robe. Donna joining us. Hey, Foxy Kitty and Witzman Dude. Foxy greeting Donna. Good of you to tune in. Yes. Cool. Yeah. I had one that was black and silk with a bunch of little dragons on it. But I got it a long time ago, like over 20 years ago. And my very first Boffer event that I went to, I wore it because they said to dress up in costume. And then we got there and there was only like 4 people in costume, including me. And what I hadn't considered is I had gained weight and gotten taller since the last time I wore it. So the first time I went to block something, I actually tore the inside here. This seam right here just split, popped right open. So I don't have that one anymore, but I do have this one. Looking good, Uncle Thesis. Thank you. I wore it to the Ren Fair today. I wore it to the Ren Fair last year, and I wore it to the Ren Fair when I had my accident. So unless I get a different color, or perhaps I've been looking at one that I can get custom sized, but also includes a hood. I don't know. We'll see. Very good looking. Thank you. Donna greeting Alec with a hug, and Alec giving Donna a hug, and Trey is joining us. Hey there. Hey y'all, how you doing? Alec greets Trey, and Foxy greets Trey, and Carl greets Trey, and my so far one and only patron, Joe Bachman, joining us, running late. Don't worry about it. You got time. No worries. Carl greets Joe. Heading to the basement to watch from the PC. Well, you know, don't put me on a big screen. We don't want to do that. Donna greets Trey and Joe. Yes, I grew. And there's Kevin. Kevin is here. Yay, Ren Fair. I have been pretty impressed with things so far, considering we live in such a small town. There were quite a few, and most of the stuff there was handmade things. You know, there were 3 or 4 blacksmiths there, several people with 3D printed things, dice. It was all handmade. It was really cool. Yeah, I'm on your TV. Yeah, I know. Too late already in the big screen. Ah, crap. Donna greets Kevin. Kevin says we have one coming in a couple of weeks. So I know I'm not going to be able to make it to the first weekend, but maybe the second. Yeah, you should go. I tell people if they have opportunities to go to these kind of things, to go, especially if you live in smaller communities like Foxy and I do. You show interest and they keep coming back. This is the 3rd year. I've gone all 3 years. And as long as they keep having them, I'm going to keep going. But we're not supposed to be talking about Ren Fairs for an hour, even though I probably could. So we're going to talk about Tàijí and Qìgōng, which both fall under the umbrella term of Nijia, which means internal martial arts. Tàijí, Qìgōng, Bagua, Xingyi, these are all Nijia. And Nijia was created, they say, by Zhang Sanfeng. That's the legend, anyway. Sanfeng was not the name he was born with. He was born, according to legend, with the name Junbao. And Junbao was the story is different depending on who tells it. He was either a minor civil servant, or he was a apprentice from Shaolin Temple. But either way, he was up in the mountains, and he came across a snake, fighting a crane. And he watched. He watched them fight. And he watched that the crane was very aggressive, pecking and very, very strong, hard movements. But Snake was very calm and just dodged and moved and stayed out of the way until the snake saw an opening and struck and killed the crane with a single strike. And that became the basis for for internal martial arts. Internal martial arts are all about using your opponent's strength against them. It's not going to be hard blocks, bone on bone. It's going to be circling around, avoiding the attack. That's Tai Chi. Now, Tai Chi and Qigong seem to have the same word in them. Tàijí Qìgōng. It's not. It's not the same. Tàijí Chuan should actually be Tàijí. Tàijí Chuan. They are completely different characters, different words, and different meanings. Tàijí Chuan translates to grand ultimate fist. Qigong does contain the word qi, which means life force. Qi is the internal energy within the body. And Qigong is meant to keep that energy flowing all through the body. Now, most people, when they think of Tai Chi, they picture elderly people in the park moving very slowly. But it is a martial art. Don't let anybody ever fool you on that one. It is a martial art. I get extremely annoyed at people who say, Tai Chi can't be used in the octagon. You're just full of shit. You're just wrong. The reason that you don't see it happen very often is because those types of fights emphasize hard against hard. That's what people want to see. They want to see broken noses and they want to see blood, and you're not going to get that with Tai Chi. What you will see is, someone throwing a punch at a Tai Chi master's face. The Tai Chi master just moves his shoulder just slightly so that his face is no longer in the path of the punch, and the idiot will punch the cage or the wall or whatever is behind the Tai Chi master. I've seen it. I've done it. Now, my beginning training when I was younger was in Mantis. So you could say that I have more than just Tai Chi training, which I do. But I have been in more than a few minor scrapes. Hi, baby. My little co-host down here. Not against the tower, please. Just going to turn off my computer. I've been in a few fights, and you would be surprised at how one can combine Mantis, Tai Chi, Bagua, and, be able to fight effectively combining all of these, or the situation calls for it, you can use each individual one and still be able to fight. The thing that is most famous in Mantis is Mantis Hand, which most people, most martial arts are going to put you into a stance closed fist. Karate, closed fist. Boxing, closed fist. Wing Chun, open palm. Your hands are protecting your center line. But Mantis, like this, right here, meant to represent the front hand of a praying mantis. Wrist is bent, 2 fingers with your thumb in between. Now compare this to this from Tai Chi. Gonna have to stand up here again. When you open and your back hand is closed right here. Wrist is bent. All of your fingers are touching your thumb. It's a pretty similar look. as my old Shifu Jack would say, for example, why would you do this or this? If you're going to punch somebody and you have your wrist bent like that, all that force on your wrist, you're going to break your wrist. If you want to punch someone, you want your wrist straight. So why this? This is not for hit. This is not for hitting people. If you watch a Mantis fighter, they're not going to use this when they strike. This is meant for catching, just like a Mantis. If someone punches at you, you want to deflect, turn, and then when their wrist is right here, you want to catch and lock. Same thing with Tai Chi. With this right here. That punch is going to come. You're going to sidestep. And you're going to lock. Again, around the arm. So that the opponent's arm is now sitting right here. And then this hand is going to lock. Then you pull or push, either way. Dawn is here. Sleepy today was nonstop. Well, I will probably most likely put you to sleep, but, whatever. Dawn greeting Carl. Hey, Dawn, pull up a chair and relax. If you doze off, you can catch the info second time around, obviously. Yes, there was my little girl. My little hellion. Donna greeting Dawn. Very informative. I hope so. Definitely going to be looking up different videos to watch of the styles. Yes. Both Tai Chi and Qigong, as I said, fall under the umbrella category of Neijia, or internal martial arts. A lot of internal martial arts, with the exception of Xingyi, are circular. They think in circles. Bagua is known for circle walking. Tai Chi, like I said, mostly known for very slow, very methodical movements, parting the wild horse's mane. But it is a combative martial art. Qigong, on the other hand, Qigong can be used, but Qigong is mostly moving meditation, which is what people think Tai Chi is. I have a particular Qigong that I have been practicing for a long time. I don't even... But it was on Discovery Health at like 8:30 in the morning. And I recorded it. And then I had to transfer that recording to another recording and to another recording. And then I had to transfer that recording to my computer. So the video quality decidedly sucks. But Qigong is meant to keep the qi in the body moving through all of the pathways. And then, years later, when Foxy first took Tai Chi at our local college, and that's how we met Jack, he was teaching the same Qigong in his class. And, the fact that I already knew it was kind of amazing to him. But it's a fairly well-known, style. Qigong and Tai Chi, you want to harmonize your body, your breathing, energy, everything flowing together. Now, I mentioned Xing Yi earlier. Xing Yi is straight lines, back and forth. If you've ever seen the Jet Li movie, The One, and Yulaw practices Xing Yi. That scene when he is in the cell right before they send him to, the prison universe, basically, and he's moving in straight lines, and his hands are straight, up, down, up. That's Xing Yi. And Gabe's character does Bagua. And you watch that final fight, only towards the very end, you get to see the difference between straight line combat and circular combat. Straight line combat, you're going to be going like this, basically chasing your opponent. But Bagua, and by extension Tai Chi, circles, circling around. It's amazing the differences, even though they are similar, they are not the same. This is very true. If you've ever seen someone practicing Tai Chi, whether that be Chen style, Wu style, Yang style, these are all the different families of Tai Chi. I personally learned the simplified Yang 24. But Yang style is not the beginnings of Tai Chi. Beginnings of Tai Chi is Chen style. Chen style Tai Chi started in Chen village, the Chen family, and for the longest time, you were not allowed to learn unless you were part of the Chen family. It stayed in that family for generations. And this was true for a lot of martial arts in ancient China. If you wanted to learn a family's fist style, you had to marry into that family. And even then, you had to basically prove that you were worthy of learning, or they wouldn't teach you. You'd just be, the crazy son-in-law that that married into the family. But you'll see a lot of similarities between the three families because they all derive from Chen style. You'll see a lot of single whip, which is what I did earlier, you know. Catch. And this hand is going to circle again, circle out here. And you'll also see a lot of this movement. Now, if you're uninformed, you're going to look at this and go, what the hell is that? What good is that going to do? Well, think of where my hands were when I did that. When my hands made that movement, they were right at my center, right above my stomach. So let's think about that for a minute. Remembering, of course, that Tai Chi and most internal martial arts are not active, they are reactive. Oh, step back a bit, you're cutting off head. Well, I could see my hands when I did the Tai Chi, the Tai Chi ball. First of all, that hand movement is meant to represent the Tàijí symbol. Again, a circle. Tàijí. This symbol, which most people know as the yin-yang, is the basis for Tai Chi. Big circle, constantly flowing, a little bit of light in the dark, a little bit of dark in the light, duality. That is where a lot of your circular imagery in Tai Chi comes from, is that symbol. Now, in the Yang simplified 24, the beginning of the form is doing that 3 times. You know, you're going to circle and then parting wild horse's mane, back into circle, parting again. But that is all counted as one movement, which is why the 24 simplified is not 24 movements. When you repeat a movement more than once in that style, it's still considered one movement. So when you're thinking of combat, if you're catching, just like with the mantis, again, it's not active, it is reactive. So you catch right above here, right above your center. Someone goes to punch you in the stomach. You're going to catch the hand, again with the bent wrist, lock, and then you have control. If they go to kick you, same thing. You catch the foot or catch the ankle. You know, the catch does not have to be this big. This is just teaching you the basic movement. Once you understand that, you can shrink it down and catch something much smaller. That's a movement along with, you know, the single whip that you're going to see in pretty much every single style of Tai Chi, because they're all descended from Chen style. You don't need to bring it back to an earlier stream that I did. You don't always need to meet force with force. It's unnecessary. If you know how to respond to the situation, Neijia styles are all about using that force against the opponent instead of meeting the force with more force. Story time. I was in a situation once. I was out at a bar, and I was by myself, as I usually was. There were very few instances where I was at a bar with other people, because at this particular time in my life, I didn't really want to be around other people. I was kind of, it's not really, you know, important to the story, but I was kind of in a dark place at the time, and I was being stupid, and I was going out drinking to try and, you know, deaden the pain. I was out at this local bar that was not terribly far away from, you know, my parents' house where I was living at the time. It was pretty easy for me to walk to the bar and walk home, even if I was slightly impaired. And there was a couple there. I was sitting at the table, minding my own business. Usually when I went out, I would have 1 or 2 bottles of what my relatives lovingly call bitch beer. I can't stand the taste of beer. That's just the nastiest tasting stuff on earth. So I would drink wine coolers, or I'd drink, you know, Mike's Hard Lemonade, and I would have 1 or 2 for the entire night. And I would usually nurse those bottles for an hour or 2 before I actually finished the first one. But I was sitting there, minding my own business, drinking my bottle, and I heard, well, let's be honest, I felt a group of people walk into the bar. You ever been in one of those situations where you're in a crowded area and you just feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? And you just know, oh shit. You know, something is coming. That's pretty much what happened here. I could tell that trouble was on the way. So I tried to ignore it, but it was fairly obvious that this group of people was looking to start trouble. And just my luck, they picked the scrawny, sitting alone, drinking not manly beer. So they came over and started harassing me. You know, some colorful slurs were thrown my way. Not going to repeat them, but I'm sure you can. Let's just say most of them alluded to me wanting to sleep with men. And we'll just leave it at that. And for the most part, I was just ignoring them. And then they started to circle. You know, at first, they were right across from me at the end of the table I was sitting at. 3 guys, 2 girls standing kind of behind the 3 guys, kind of in between. And then the 2 guys started to come around. Now I'm thinking, okay, this is going to end poorly. Maybe I should leave. You know, avoid the situation. So I went to, push my chair back to leave. And the guy on this side right here stuck his entire leg behind my chair so that I couldn't push back. And started pushing me back forward. Anyone heard that background? I don't. Well, we'll see. Some people just love to cause trouble when they don't need to. And that's exactly what it was. Like I said, they were just looking to start something. So I have the guy on this side pushing on the bottom of my chair, keeping me from moving. His idiot friend on this side starts doing the same thing. So now I have 2 people pushing on the back of my chair, and I'm, trying to push against the table. Force against force. Again. I was trying to push against their force. Wasn't working. Obviously, it wasn't working. They just kept pushing me closer to the edge of the table. And in those situations, your first instinct, just because of, the natural inclination of most human beings, is to try force against force. I am not the biggest person. I am not the strongest person. And sometimes you're going to come across situations where there's someone stronger than you, or you're in a situation where there's more than one person. Honk, honk, I'm Goose Fox. When she blows her nose, yeah. You'll come across a situation where you will not be the strongest person. Hi, baby. But I was trying to push against the table, push against the people pushing against me. And then it just kind of clicked. What are you doing? This is not how we handle these situations. You don't meet force with force. So instead of pushing against the table and having a harder force pushing behind me, I took my chair and I wrapped my right leg around the leg of the table under me, grabbed the table, and spun out away from their force. And what did that accomplish? They pushed me away faster. Because now, instead of pushing on the back of a chair and having that force applied this direction to try and push back against it, I circle this way, and now the force is going that way. And now, all of a sudden, my chair, instead of being where it was, is now at like 3 o'clock from where I was. And I got up because now there's no longer, someone pushing against me. And I started to walk away. I'm walking towards the entrance. They're still back there yammering, doing as they do. And when they realize that I'm no longer just going to sit there and take their abuse, they followed me outside. Now I'm a little concerned, because there are 5 of them, counting the women, and don't give me any of this, don't hit a girl bullshit. If I'm in a situation where I'm fighting and my survival is in question, I'm going to count each and every combatant, including the women. They were there. They were taking part in the calling names and slurs. If one of those girls, one of those women would have thrown a punch, a kick, an elbow, you're fair game. I don't care. It is 5-on-1. If it would have been, just one or both of the women starting shit, I would have kept walking. But now it's 5-on-1. Me, 5 other people, 5 other combatants. Sex does not matter at that point. And yes, if they're attacking me, they've left themselves open for retaliation. Donna says, damn straight, you protect against anybody, male or female. That is right. Now they're following me outside. I am probably 6 or 7 blocks from home. It is, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I live in a small town. There's not that many people around. And a lot of the areas that I'm going to have to walk through to get home are alleyways or side streets. Even if I stuck to the main road, there's still very few people around. So I'm starting to really be worried for my safety at this point. And Yeah. Survival trumps chivalry. Yes, it does. My first instinct was to go back into the bar, talk to the bartender, because he and I were, I'm not going to say we were friends, but we were friendly. You know, every time I went in there, I usually sat at the bar and just talked to him for a while. But it was fairly crowded in there that night. And I knew I didn't want to get him in any trouble. And it was probably better for the bar at large for those people to leave. So I kept walking. And at first, it was just voices behind me. Nya, 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 nya. Still yelling out slurs, calling me names. But eventually, one of the guys broke away from the group and started running towards me. You know that sound that you can hear when someone's running behind you and you can hear their feet? That's what I heard. So I whipped around. I looked him dead in his eyes. And I just said, "Not today." And I just stared him down. You know, he stopped running when I turned around. And the next words out of his mouth were very much expected from me. He said, "Or what?" And I just shrugged. I'm just like, eh. I'm basically thinking in a very Tàijí manner. Here is the aggressor right in front of you. Are you going to try and meet that force, whether it's physical force or mental force? Are you going to meet that force with more force, or are you going to use his force against him? I'm leaving it up to him. What happens next is entirely up to him. And he did the thing where he, grabs my chest and pushes me up against a wall. And he's just right here. Or what? Or what, faggot? Or what? And I just stood there. I didn't. I mean, I'm sure I flinched when my back hit the wall because that was kind of painful. But, I didn't flinch. I didn't react. I didn't respond. I was letting him dictate what happens next. And what happened next was he threw a punch. Now, keep in mind, like I said, he had pushed my back against a wall. It was him in front of me, then me, then solid brick wall behind me. There is no chivalry when the chick goes warrior. That's exactly right. Honestly, at that point, the chivalrous thing is to treat them as a warrior. Yes. So he's this far away from me. He is right here. So he didn't have a whole lot of time to wind up a punch. So he just kind of does a short little, upward towards my stomach. And that was when that lovely little circle came in handy. Because as soon as I felt his knuckle come in contact with me, I caught that right at his fist. And again, circle outward. So now I have his fist in this grip right here. And I have now turned to the side. So now I'm over here. He's still standing here. I have circled outside his attack. I have his hand. Now he's off balance. So, with his fist in my hands, I just simply turned a little bit more to make him more off balance, stuck my foot out, and he went face first into the brick wall that was behind me. When his gang, when his friends saw this short little encounter, it was done. Disarm the situation. Meet force with softness. Don't meet it with more force. Once they saw that I was fully capable of handling myself, they went to check on their friend who was bleeding because he did just run face first into a wall. And I walked home. Was I constantly on high alert, listening for more footsteps behind me? Yes. Was I checking over my shoulder most of the way home? Yes. But softness overcame force, and sometimes with Tai Chi and with Qigong, to bring it actually back around to what we're supposed to be talking about, that's what Tai Chi especially is about. It's about overcoming hard with soft. And just for the people here, because I know you, yes, I did say hard, so not the green room. We're talking martial arts here. We're not talking about other hard and soft things. Yes. And women can definitely be warriors. This is true. Well done. I don't consider that to be a victory for me, because the victory would have been not having to do that. Not having to, be in a fight, to just be able to completely disarm the situation entirely before it gets to that point. But sometimes we have to fight. Alex says situations like this almost happened to me a few times back when I was in in-person school. Never fun, even with just empty threats. Yes. if you are in a situation and you can't, disarm it peacefully, do not meet force with more force. Because it doesn't matter how big you are, how strong you are, how badass you are. You're going to come across someone who's bigger and stronger and more of a badass than you, and you're going to have to know how to overcome force with fluidity. Yeah. Oh, I agree. Having to fight is not plan A, but some people have to prove themselves and will not stop. And when that happens, and you have to be in a fight, unless you know that you are capable of overcoming their force with your own, don't do it. We are behaving ourselves because our sweet Alec is here. Yeah, well, I just wanted to put that up just because. Most of the people who threaten me are in juvenile detention for many reasons. Yeah. I'm the transgender disabled person. That's what I was known as in the nice words. Uh-huh. There are many people like a lot of ways. But we have made it past the hour. I hope this has been at least informative. If anyone has any questions about Tàijí Qìgōng, Neijia, feel free to ask. Informative show. Thank you. Trey, wonderful show. Trey, I hope you really do go after this and look up, some of the other internal martial arts, because they are vastly different. And yet, if you know what you're looking for, you will find the similarities between them. Tai Chi and Bagua think in circles. Xing Yi is, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, but you're still not meeting force with more force. Xing Yi looks very, very forceful, but if you understand the mechanics behind it, it's still overcoming hard with soft. Next show, let me check my calendar. Next show will be on May 11th. And I have a topic picked out. This is going to be one that our amazing friend Dan is going to want to watch, because a while back, last month, I think, I did a show about names and the ghosts attached to those names. And after that show was over, Dan made a comment that he wished that I went into greater detail about the naming conventions in China. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about next time. How Chinese people came up with names for their children, the difference between a birth name and a courtesy name, some names you want to avoid, and, etc. So that's going to be on May 11th. Thank everyone for coming again. I'm glad that I was able to impart a little bit of wisdom and a lot of rambling and storytelling. And great show tonight. Definitely looking forward to the next one. I'm glad to hear it. I know I say this every single time, but I have to, tell everyone how much I really appreciate everyone coming here and interacting in the chat, interacting with me, and being, my sword family. Even if you're not able to join the Patreon, even if you can't, buy a shirt, which that's something I forgot. Duh. Throw that up there. See everyone in 2 weeks. Yes. See everyone later tonight. I will probably be in, chats. I definitely want to see Dawn's new hair, so that's going to be a thing. But there's just, to go along with, the overall theme of, not meeting force with force. There's certain groups of people that I just choose not to interact with. And instead of, forcing my sword family to choose between me and these people, instead of trying to bully my way into, people seeing my point of view and agreeing with me, it's just easier for me to remove myself, and everyone else can continue being friends with these kinds of people that just make me angry. I just remove myself from the situation. Everyone else can continue being these people's friends, and I just don't have to deal with it. So if you don't see me on Last Man Standing, if you don't see me in the green room, just know that one of these people that I choose not to associate with is there, and I am simply removing myself from the situation so that I can keep my peace without forcing everyone else to agree with my point of view. So there you go. Good night. I will most likely be in the chat, at least, if I'm not actually on the show. I am glad that people enjoyed this. I'm glad that people are looking forward to the next show. It is most definitely time for me to go get some food. So I will see everyone later. And 再见。